and let's see what we got going on
But
here.
Singleton brings it away for Bradford. There's only Ellis with him at the moment, though, and he's played it straight to Redford.
Ooh, okay.
Flag this time against John Thomas.
Saturday, May 11th, 1985. A soccer match is underway in Bradford, West Yorkshire, England, between the visiting team Lincoln City.
Come on. You gotta know your country, man. Call it football. I know, I'm a Texan. I call it soccer, but
and the home team, Bradford.
Come on, man.
A group riding the high of having just won their divisional championship in the week prior. This was the season finale for the club. One last match for the team and the fans to cap off what was otherwise a
Did he
historic
say when
run.
this was? Did
However,
I miss
it wasn't just the season that this game would mark the end of.
Our dog's barking.
At the time, Bradford City played their matches at a site called Valley Parade Stadium, with the facilities growing a reputation around the league as being incredibly outdated, and to many, downright neglected. The awnings that stretched over the fans were made of old rotted wood, while underneath the stands were heaps of old trash that would pile up all throughout the season and rarely if ever be cleaned.
Yeah, that's
the
probably
whole place
not good.
was a mess, and the city knew it too, which eventually led to their decision to just rebuild the stadium completely, with plans being set to tear the whole thing down soon after the game would end. But as it turns out, fate wasn't willing to wait quite that long. Within the stands, a spectator was watching on, enjoying a cigarette, taking one last drag before flicking it out of his hands. I still locked intently on the game, failing to notice that the cigarette butt had slipped through the floorboards of the bleacher and landed on the ground below. This almost immediately
This is entitled The Bradford Fire, and yeah, maybe don't do that with your fucking cigarettes. Sorry, I have a real disdain for them.
Caused a small fire to break out, which was noted by the commentator John Helm.
Uh-oh.
We've actually got a fire in the stand on the far side
Oh,
of the
shit.
ground.
Oh, fuck, there it is.
Indeed.
Oh, shit.
Despite the cigarette only being dropped a minute or so before, the fire was already visible from the stands, as within that old stadium was the perfect makings of a disaster.
Yeah, you have all that shit, that trash there that nobody cleaned up. I mean, well, you'd think the stadium, I don't know. It was old. I don't know how old wood versus like wet wood. I don't know which one wins, but yeah. All right.
When that cigarette fell to the ground, it didn't just land on the grass, because the
landed
grass
on
was
trash.
likely not even visible at that point,
Yeah.
and was buried under mounds and mounds of garbage.
Right.
Garbage that acted as the perfect kindling for the blaze. And that
I
wasn't
don't
all.
know.
Remember, one of the main sticking points of the rebuild.
I know a lot of people here and people that watch, because I do stream later, are in Europe. I know you get a lot of rain there. Is there a rainy season? I hear like summer is pretty rainy, but then that was under the stadium, so the rain may have not gotten there. I don't know how that works. I'm here in Texas, so it's like 500 degrees all the time, except like the 2 weeks of the year when we get ice and sleet.
Was the fact that the awnings that reached above the fans were made entirely of that old wood.
Yeah.
Meaning that you had heaps of
There
kindling,
it is.
tons of wood, and now a spark. With the final fatal factor being that it was a windy day. It was the perfect
Yeah, that's not
storm.
good. Yeah.
And the results
Not great.
were devastating.
Not the best. Not great. 1 minute. 1 fucking minute. That's insane. Jesus fucking Christ.
The black ball of smoke is rising hundreds of feet in the air.
God damn. That thing went up fast.
It took approximately 3 minutes for that small fire to engulf the entirety of the stands. As the black
Holy
smoke billowed into the
shit.
sky, and the crowd desperately rushed to the field to get away from the heat.
And the whole place.
They're lucky that thing was not like that big. I mean, it was big, but holy shit. Like 3 minutes and you get that far? Or I mean, it goes up that quickly? God, did anyone get hurt or die? Like, holy shit.
Having a new
Yeah, no fuck.
This is the day that Valley Parade Football Club
They were supposed to tear it down that day. That's right.
is burning down.
The
Holy
footage is
fuck.
highly disturbing, so much so that I can't show the entire thing. But during this
God
time,
damn.
however, a radio broadcast was on air, with the audio giving us a good idea of just how chaotic the scene was, and the moments when the blaze really erupted.
And we're on fire here at Valley Parade. The whole end of the stand at one side is actually in flames now. I can see the
Jesus.
orange of the flames. The game is actually stopped here at Valley Parade.
Yeah.
And people are running around. They're running around.
Do we
inside
know
it.
who
They're running
did
around
it?
all round.
Like
The
they
people are saying,
said
"Get
somebody
onto that
flicked the
pitch."
cigarette,
The
but
whole stand is on
how
fire, Tony.
how sorry for pausing it again. How do we know that? Like I've always wondered that. Like how the fuck do they know where something started like that? Because it seems like the fire would engulf the the cigarette butt, and yeah, I mean, I guess you could get like you would know kind of where it started, right? But like the specifics of that? That's interesting. As a person
Let's get all those people
who's
out of there.
scientifically oriented.
Take your time. Don't rush. Don't push. Wait for the kiddies. People are coming
Yeah,
around.
no
They can hear
shit.
the heat. The smoke coming everywhere.
Yeah, people are
We
going
are going to
yeah.
have to disconnect very shortly because it really is flaming all the time. We're taking a break. We're getting out of here.
You said it looks like it's flaming all the time or something. It wasn't very unintelligible, but fair enough.
In the stands that day were approximately 6,000 people, and based on the
Jeez.
footage, many of whom were able to run to safety very quickly,
yeah,
which
no
gave a sense of
shit.
hope that the ordeal might end in minimal casualties.
Hopefully.
Though there was another side of things.
Uh-oh.
Those who chose not to run towards the field opted to go the opposite
Out.
way, as there was
Ooh.
an entrance and exit located directly behind the stands
That's
where the
not
fire
good.
had started. And when the crowd managed
That's
to make
less
their way
than
to
good.
this exit, they were met with a disturbing revelation.
Oh shit.
The gates
Got
were
collapsed.
shut.
Yeah.
And those that
Something-
were
something
open or
bad.
busted open were also blocked by slow-moving turnstiles,
Oh, fuck
some of which
that.
being locked themselves.
Jesus.
And as the crowd began pushing more and more to get through these turnstiles, it in turn led to a crush of humanity, with everyone piling on top of one another as the fire
Ah, fuck
slowly
that.
consumed them.
Jesus Christ. That thing
When the
went
smoke
up
cleared and the
so
bodies were
quick.
counted, 56 had tragically lost their lives, while another 265
I'm gonna be honest. I would have expected a lot more.
were left with serious injuries, with the tragedy leading to numerous new safety standards for soccer stadiums across the country.
Yeah, no
as Valley
shit.
Parade's notoriously bad reputation had finally
Football.
caught up with it on its very last day of operation,
I got you, Europeans.
marking one of the
Football.
deadliest days in the world of soccer, and one of
Football.
the darkest moments in television history.
Yeah.
Bodies are being dragged away from that stand.
that recorded the man's actions as he was
That's pretty bold to do. Well, I guess he's done it before. He has some shorter segments, but I guess he does show the first one, and then we have the
taping a special program.
one that the darkest moments, the title screen. Excuse me. I am doing this live, but you should follow
Before
me
we dive
on
into our next
Twitch.
case here, I want to first thank today's sponsor, Aura, for helping to make content
We gotta
like
launch
this
the
financially
sponsor.
viable. It seems that in
He's
this day and age
providing
of
us with
technology,
content
there are
that
people
we're
looking
reacting
around
to, or
every
I'm
corner
trying
looking
to.
exploit you. And by far one of the most stressful examples of this is spam phone calls. I mean, it's gotten to
Yeah,
the point with me
it's
where I
awful.
never even answer my
They're
phone
awful.
unless I
Yeah,
have
nobody
everything
does.
saved. Data
Nobody
brokers are
does.
making an absolute fortune selling your information to these robocallers and a slew of other scammers around the web. But
you
Aura
want
can
a
identify these
person-
data brokers and submit opt-out requests on your behalf, as they're actually legally
Why would
required to
anyone
remove
want
your
my
if
information?
you Ask them, but they obviously make it really hard.
It would
and in
be
some
the
cases
worst
almost impossible.
thing
But don't
ever.
worry, Aura has your back and they will do it for you.
All right,
which also
Aura.
extends to those
All right,
spam
let's go.
emails as well, which has been an absolute game changer for me. And their services extend far past this, as Aura will give you easy access to parental controls, an antivirus, a VPN, password management, identity theft insurance, and much, much more. They'll even scan the
Okay.
dark web for you to see if any of your information might be floating around out there. And in doing so, they can help by changing your stolen passwords for you, scrubbing data where possible, and offering a multitude of other solutions depending on your situation. Aura truly is your one-stop shop for
You have to
safety
show,
and peace of
like,
mind
some
on the internet.
Ruby-
So you can either keep
some,
letting
like,
people
Ruby
exploit
code
your
or
profile
Python
for private
code.
information, or
Look,
you can go to
we're high tech.
aura.com/Nick Crowley for a
Sorry,
free 2-week
I'm not gonna
trial,
shit
which
on
will
them.
also be linked right down below in the description. All right,
I'm
thank
sure
you
they're
guys,
great.
And back to the video.
Go to them. Go look at them. I'm sure they're amazing.
Hey kids and parents, get two.
This one is entitled The Balloon Priest, and I watch a lot of political shit, and I'm pretty active in religious stuff, which is disgusting, like that I've seen, and the Balloon Priest does not sound like something I want to.
Well, it's back again.
I don't know. I don't know about this.
The world of television is no stranger to death-defying stunts. From the very beginning of broadcasting, viewers have been captivated by the sight of people
don't do
risking
that.
their lives
Don't do
to
that.
pull off these seemingly impossible spectacles. But while most of these performances
Nobody
are done
needs
by
to
trained
do that.
professionals, perhaps one of the strangest television stunts ever performed was one done by a man with hardly any training at all.
Oh, is
Adelier
it? Okay.
Antonio de Crowley.
He doesn't little kids, does he? I don't want to see that.
Born
Sounds
in
like
Pelotas,
it, but-
Adelier felt a calling early in his life
No,
to
he's-
dedicate himself
okay.
to God.
That's good.
This eventually led to him becoming a Catholic priest, where he developed a deep connection with those in his community.
How
To
you
many,
doing, man?
Adelier was considered a man of the people.
Sorry I haven't been on. I've been in a really like shitty place mentally, and I don't want to bring that online. But tonight, figure why
Someone
not.
who had a passion for religion and a goal to make it accessible to as many people as possible, which is where he developed the idea for his most infamous project. Near his home in Brazil was a popular port city named Paranagua, which saw the import and export of a vast
Paranagua.
array of goods, making it a central
Let's
hub
see
for
where
truckers to drive
Paranagua
to and from
is.
on a regular basis. But Adelier began to realize that for these truckers, the vast majority of their lives were lived on the road, and this rarely, if ever, allowed them to practice their religion.
On the Evan Glare channel, I'm gonna do a reaction. We're gonna find out where the hell Paranagua is. The round sea, in the state of Piranha in Brazil, if I'm saying that right, which I'm probably not, and my internet's not loading super great. Hey, look, there it is. I can zoom out. Nobody cares, but goddammit, you're gonna learn something if you're gonna come to my stream. Oh, there's Rio, so we're down here. All right. Just trying to get a sense of where in the world we are. Yeah.
This revelation inspired Adelier to
fun
start
to be
putting
back,
together
man.
plans to build a chapel at a trucker's rest stop right in Paranagua, which would allow for
Okay.
drivers to stop and worship while on the road.
Good for
In
them.
theory, this seemed like a great idea, and one that the community could easily rally behind, though there was just one issue: the money.
The
Building
money.
a chapel and maintaining it was not going to be cheap, and far exceeded what was possible with just his salary, making the whole thing seem like more of a dream than anything, unless
All right. I'm going to guess. It's called Balloon Priest, and I live in Texas in the U.S., and whenever I hear things associated with kids and priests, it usually doesn't turn out good. But hopefully this person seems like they're pretty good people. He's going to try and lift himself in the air with a bunch of balloons, and it's going to go terribly wrong, is what I'm going to assume. I don't think it probably went as well as David Blaine did.
he could somehow find a way to raise the funds, which is when he had the idea.
Okay.
He was going to
Here it
create
is.
a public spectacle, one where he would attach himself to hundreds of helium-filled balloons
Yeah.
and take off into
helium,
the sky
okay.
in a process known as balloon clustering. Believe it
Right.
or not, this was actually a somewhat well-known stunt at the time, as popularized by
Really?
a man named John Ninomiya, whose footage was shown on numerous television stations a few years prior in 2006. And perhaps having been inspired by this, Adelier viewed the stunt as the perfect opportunity to fund his chapel, with his plan being
Yeah,
to break the world
okay.
record of 19
Oh,
hours
no.
in the air, and in doing so, use the publicity to gather donations. But the only problem was, he had no experience whatsoever. He had gone skydiving
probably not
numerous times
good.
before, though, and he believed that his familiarity with that would help him to break the record in no time. And so, on January 13th, 2008, in the city of Umperi, Brazil, over 600 balloons were filled with
Goddamn.
helium and attached to a chair, which Adelier
Okay, so I had this idea, and I only ever got to the first part of it. And I'm sorry, but I have something similar to that. I didn't do that. Obviously, I would have probably died. But I wanted to make a little airship because I was in physics, right? Is what I went to college for and grad school and everything. So I made a little oh shit, what's the wood? The balsa wood is very, very lightweight wood, and I built these like little fish nets that go over it, and I put three. I had access to hydrogen. Probably not the best thing to build a giant balloon with, as we know from the Hindenburg, but I put these three little nets, and it was almost like a trapezoidal figure that I put on there, and I put these little fans, right? Because I wanted to make the fans push up, and I put little like sensors to make like if the if the balloon, I mean, obviously the balloons, they weren't all filled with the exact same amount of helium or hydrogen, excuse me, but I want it to be straight, so I had these little like sensors, effectively like little bubble things, and I put them on the three axes to be like, okay, well, which way are we leaning, and then it would trigger the fan to go to produce more or less thrust. And I never quite got it, but I always wanted a little airship that I could kind of do remote controls or whatever to steer. I don't know. It was interesting. Sorry, a little bit about my life with these balloons before obviously something terrible is going to happen to this man.
Was then strapped to. He began to lift off the ground, quickly floating high.
I kind of got it,
as
though.
the news cameras were there
fun.
to film it all.
It was fun to make.
The flight saw him travel roughly 17 miles and reach an altitude of 17,000 feet, highlighting just how dangerous of a stunt this really was.
High.
But despite his lack of experience, after around 4 hours, he would touch down safely in Argentina, marking the end of his first successful flight.
Well, good.
It was a promising start and inspired Atelier to continue planning and prepping for his next attempt, which he
I guess Alex has seen this, so he wanted to go for like a time kind of thing, right? Like a most hours in the sky with this, not like a David Blaine stunt where, he wanted to go way, way high and then like effectively skydive down.
resoundingly told
is what
people
I'm getting.
would break the world record. In preparation for doing so, he took part in various jungle survival training exercises
in Brazil,
and even took up mountain climbing. As
I mean, that's cool. I've climbed a mountain.
Regions which left him at risk of being
I have climbed
in the wilderness.
one mountain.
To further aid in this,
it did not go well.
Also have a satellite phone and a GPS, which he would use in tandem to help track his location and call for assistance should things
a world record time thing, right? Like most time in the air
go awry. It seemed that Atelier was ready for anything. But on April 20th, 2008, as a crowd gathered around to see this man attempt this record, the weather began to take a turn for the worst. During his first flight, the skies were sunny and the winds were calm, but on this day it was gloomy and the rain was falling hard off and on, putting the whole stunt in jeopardy. But Atelier remained confident, boasting that thanks to God he would have perfect weather when he was on his flight.
No, don't go over that.
And despite some trying to convince him to push things back, he knew that the crowd was there for him. And this was his chance to secure funding for his dream project.
When did Up come out? Up came out. This was in 2008. This was when oh my God, how did I not know about this? Because I was researching like balloon elevation and shit like that for my little stupid physics project. How did I not know about this?
De altitude. Com ele lá em cima, vão estar ainda telefone celular por satélite, GPS.
No, don't. If it's rainy, don't do that. No. Do not pull an Up. I need to know when Up came out.
And with that, he was off, soaring quickly into the sky, where he eventually disappeared into those thick rain clouds. For essentially
Up came out a year later.
Those clouds made it practically impossible to see the man, which was further exasperated by the fact that this time he had used 1,000 balloons as opposed to 600, which brought him to an even higher elevation.
Yeah, no
this
shit.
Time touching almost 20,000 feet. But just because he was out of sight, that didn't mean that we couldn't hear from him, as he would soon call down to a local news station
that's gonna
to
be
share
bad.
a somewhat concerning update.
Yeah, no shit. Don't ever. I'm sorry. I don't care how much faith that you have in Jesus and God. Do not ever pull a let Jesus take the wheel thing. Please just fucking don't. Like, just don't, please. Because shit like this is gonna happen. I need you to get... Hold on. I need you to get in contact with the staff so they can teach me how to operate this GPS here to give me the latitude and longitude coordinates, which is the only way that someone on the ground can know where I am. See, we don't even have like an altitude or altimeter here. Like, what the fuck? Like, I get it, GPS, but like, if you're gonna go up in the sky that much, get an altimeter.
Despite dedicating countless hours of training before the flight, there was one thing that Atelier had failed to prepare for: the GPS. As he
I hate you because I'm gonna have to edit this out, but I'll do it anyway. But I love you. Where is it? Here it is. All right.
He was never shown how the device actually worked,
Or I won't.
and he
I don't
only
know.
realized that
Fuck
he had
it.
no idea how to operate it once he was already at his peak altitude, meaning that he was
How
essentially...
do you get a GPS and you're going 20,000 feet up in the air and don't know how to operate a basic GPS? This was 2008. This was what, 2 years after iPhone came out? They were probably on the iPhone like 12 or something, because it come out like I know they weren't on the iPhone 12. I understand. It's a joke. But still, come on, dude.
blind.
Come on, man.
The course he had set out on was set to see him travel 400 miles inland to a city
Burger
named
King?
Dorados, and
I
by
could-
his prior
I'd go to a
calculations,
Burger King
the
right
wind
now.
should have still been
My
taking
girlfriend
him at
hates
the
Burger
very
King.
least in that direction,
I
which
don't.
for a moment
I like
gave
it.
him a sense of calm, as he trusted the preparation even if he didn't know his exact coordinates. But after a few hours,
He
as the
wanted
moon
to go to
began
that Burger
rise,
King.
so too did the panic within Atelier, as he caught a glimpse of a strange sight on the horizon: the ocean.
Oh, the ocean. Is it super fucked up that I'm thinking of the Rick and Morty where like Rick and Morty go off to wherever and Rick gives like Jerry his shoes give him like just ever so slightly larger buoyancy than his weight, but then he uses a shoe, but then he's like up in the air. This reminds me of that. Oh, but then he goes over the ocean. Yeah, don't do that.
Somehow,
Would
the
not
wind had done a
recommend.
complete 180 and had blown him in the exact opposite direction that he had prepared for. And before he knew it, he was flying
Fuck
directly
that.
over the sea, with no way of stopping himself or even slowing himself down, as he was now flying
Nah.
alone into pitch blackness.
Oh, fuck that.
Atelier called his team and requested they send rescue, but there was no way to give his
Fuck
exact
that.
location.
I'll be right
and by
back.
this point, he was already nearly 40 miles out to sea. After being just 8 hours into his 20-hour flight, the ground team would lose contact with Atelier.
I'm still here.
after receiving
I'm
a
still
message
here.
from him begging for
Just
his
had to
rescue,
do something. Sorry.
and he would never be heard from again.
Jesus Christ.
Up, and away. A Catholic priest trying to break a record for most hours
Dude,
flying with
come
helium-filled
on.
party balloons vanishes into thin air.
The subsequent search for Atelier was broadcast heavily all across the world, with the media dubbing
Come
him
on,
as
man.
the Balloon Priest. And after nearly 9 days of searching, the only sign of the man was his balloons. They were found detached and floating in the
shit.
ocean, with there being no sign of the priest whatsoever, leaving
It
his fate
took
as
him.
a total mystery. At least at the time. On July 4th, 2008, a tugboat sailing off the coast of Mackay near an offshore oil rig would spot something floating in the water, and upon closer inspection, it would be identified as a body. Or at least part of one, given all that
fuck.
remained was the subject's lower half. And upon DNA testing, it was confirmed that it did in fact belong to Atelier Antonio de Carli, who likely crashed into the water and drowned, only to be picked away at by various predators of the ocean, thus ending the Balloon Priest's saga in a tragic, yet for many, unsurprising manner.
Right? Anyway.
Night is the most dangerous time for pedestrians along streets and highways.
This is called, well, he's probably going to tell us, but what to do when stranded on the road. This one doesn't sound great.
To be on the safe side, walk facing
There she is.
traffic and wear light-colored clothing for quicker recognition by approaching drivers.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Now, once you get into a car with somebody,
We have watched countless
If your car
police
becomes
chases
stable
on
with
here,
rule of
so
thumb, is stay
this is kind of
inside.
old hat
There
for
are
me.
signs you can get to put on the back window to summon for help.
It was the waning days of 1986. New station NBC
That's when I was born. 1986.
7 San Diego records and broadcasts a PSA segment about safety on the roads, and specifically what to do if your car breaks down at night. This may seem like a fairly random topic, but for residents of San Diego, fears were rising over just how safe their highways were, as just a few days prior, a 20-year-old college student named Kara Knott had gone missing, only for her car to be found pulled over onto the shoulder of a tall bridge, where underneath, police killed brutally and tossed over the side to the ground below. Understandably, residents were concerned, with many assuming that she had ran into car troubles and likely exited her vehicle to get help, only to be kidnapped and killed by a nearby motorist.
Jesus Christ.
And due to this, NBC7 thought the segment would be effective in educating those out there, in the hopes of avoiding another situation like...
Hold on, I have to go back because this girl got pulled over. Sorry, we were talking about the Loomis Axe thing, but she got...
college student named Kara Knott, only for her car to be found pulled over onto the shoulder of a tall bridge, where underneath, police would find her body, having been strangled brutally and tossed over the side to the ground below.
What the fuck is
Understandably,
wrong with
residents
people?
were concerned, with many assuming that she had ran into car troubles and likely exited her vehicle to get help, only to be kidnapped and killed by a nearby motorist. And due to this, NBC7 thought the segment would be effective in educating those out there, in the hopes of avoiding another situation like Kara's, especially considering
something
at this point,
real bad
the
is
killer was
about to
still
happen.
somewhere out there. For the video, they even had a highway patrol officer come out to share his tips.
being a female, you could be raped, robbed if you're a male, all the way to where you could be killed.
That is kind of super fucked up. If you're a female, you could be... Well, he just said it. The bad thing. He's like, oh, if you're a male, you could be robbed. Yeah, I do need to do some vintage ape for sure. I do know what you're talking about. Yes, we do need to get that going. Yeah.
Once you get in that other person's car, you're at their mercy.
As well as a man whose car had broken down when they were filming.
Yeah, don't ever...
Realize how dangerous it is?
Listen, okay, this is a reaction or whatever. I live in Texas. It was a small town. One time, I think I was about 5. It was me and my mom. We were on our way to my grandparents who lived in a very, very tiny town. I don't even know if it has more than 1,000 people right now. When I was born, when I grew up, it had 500-600 people, maybe. I'm not gonna say where it is, obviously. Well, it doesn't really matter. It's in Riesel, Texas. Nobody I know lives there, so it doesn't really matter. But it's Riesel, Texas. Very, very tiny town. Less than like I said, 1,000 people, probably even now. But anyway, way back when in like 1990, my mom had a blowout, and we were like nearly to the town, and she had never had that. You know, I was 5. She was probably she had me when she was like 24 or something. So she was probably like 29, something like that, maybe 30. I don't remember exactly. Anyway, she did that, and she had no idea what the fuck to do, which is why I'm telling this story. And she was like, oh, well, we need a ride. And like, my mom, I love my mom. She's very naive, I guess would be the word. I don't know. I mean, it was a different time too, but I mean, this happened in 86. So that other thing that I'm telling right now probably happened 90, 91, 92, something like that. Anyway, she's like, oh yeah. And we were stranded out on the road. So we were trying to get help, and this guy stopped. Fortunately, he knew my uncle who lived in the next town over. And, so that was good, but like I'm looking at her now and I'm like, oh, you should not have done that. like at all.
In fact, I was putting the gas in, and a 18-wheeler came by. And
I remember, like, I
Overall, the
distinctly
segment
remember
appeared
that
relatively
too.
harmless, with the main messaging being to contact authorities
Yeah.
and wait for their assistance rather than trusting a stranger.
But listen, this is 1986 when they're doing this. We don't have smartphones. We don't even have fucking cell phones. If you're in the middle of the highway and like you're on some fucking crazy, you know, whatever, like very long stretch of road, how the fuck are you gonna contact authorities? You know, we live in a day and age now that is completely removed from back then.
But still, this did little to calm the public's nerves as paranoia rippled through the community, and speculation began to run rampant on who was responsible for Kara's death.
Yeah.
Which is when disturbing allegations began to emerge. Following this report, 24 separate women would come forward to share their bizarre encounters.
Oh,
that they
we're
had
not
had
gonna
on that
do a
very same
fucking-
road in which Kara was found. The girls claim that they were pulled over by a police officer who interrogated them in their cars for upwards of 2 hours. And the questions being asked
oh my
during this
God.
weren't even relevant to the alleged violations they had committed. Instead, they were more personal, sometimes even sexual, as if the man was trying to seduce them. And it got
This is
stranger
not
from
gonna-
there.
this
as when
isn't what
looking into
I'm
that
think-
cop's work
what I think
record,
it is
was
that
discovered that
no.
he was on patrol the night in which Kara had gone missing, and he just so happened to be working that very same stretch of highway. And making things even more concerning was the fact that underneath Kara's fingernails were traces of what appeared to be fabric that matched the material used to make police uniforms. And hidden in the
Oh shit. Oh shit.
officer's trunk was heavy rope, with it eventually being revealed that Kara had rope marks around her neck, implying that that's how she was killed. But what does make these accounts so important and so relevant to the topic at hand was the fact that the officer being named by every single one of these women was a man named Craig Allen Pyre.
Spotting pedestrians at night is difficult, particularly.
And once you get into
There's his thumbnail.
a car with somebody, you're at their mercy.
Because if you do decide to walk, the CHP says you never know who you may meet along the road.
Anything can happen.
This is so fucked up for so many reasons, because what they were saying is like, oh, you know, if you have car trouble, contact the authorities. Well, if the authorities are going to try and, you know, if they're people like, I assume this individual, and you can't trust anybody. You just can't. Like, what the fuck is wrong with people? I know exactly what's wrong with people, because we're seeing this kind of shit today. The God Man. He's... Me and my girlfriend, if she's still here, she may not, she may have gone to sleep, and that's fine. On our first anniversary kind of dinner, it was Valentine's Day, so it was a little bit after, but anyway, we went, we had a good meal. We went to karaoke. We came back, and there was a police car following us into where I live right now, into this neighborhood. Good neighborhood too, but she kind of noticed that they was following us, and she was like, "Okay, well, let's go out and go in or whatever." And he like knocked on the door or whatever and made us come out, because they had gotten reports of some like teenagers or somebody was like at some kind of construction site near us, but we like live in a kind of a smallish town. He was like, "Oh yeah, stand there and like go behind the car and put your hands behind you and put your butt on the back of the thing." It's like, what the fuck? Like, dude, we're in our mid to late 30s. What the fuck are you talking about? And like, he was like, whatever. He clearly probably just got out of the academy, the police academy, and wanted to, you know, show his power effectively. Like, that literally was it. And yeah, it wasn't fun. And that's probably what we're looking at right here.
The very same officer that was shown in the local news report It would eventually be revealed that on December 27, 1986, Craig Allen Pyre pulled over Kara Knott, flirted with her, raped her, strangled her, and then threw her body off a bridge.
Okay, there
Only
it is.
2 days later, appear on this PSA and try and teach the public how to avoid being kidnapped.
It was the same. It was the same motherfucker. Oh my god. I'm atheist even, but I'm in Texas, so and I grew up Baptist. Believe me, I've been through the ringer. But that was the same motherfucker who did the PSA that raped her and threw her off the bridge. I'm sorry. Oh, I said the thing. Oh, YouTube gonna demonetize me when I'm not even monetizable in the first place. Fuck that. This motherfucker raped her and threw her off the bridge, and then a couple of days later, he was the person to do the PSA to be like, oh yeah, if you're in trouble, call. Dude, this shit. That's why everyone here, I'm gonna give him a shout out. You need to watch Cult of Dusty. This is the kind of shit that he talks about. Everyone should. He's been on YouTube far longer than I have. Started in like 2006, 2007.
Kidnapped and killed alongside
That's
of the
fucked up.
highway.
This is the exact kind of shit.
Killed. Once you get in that other person's car, you're at their mercy.
If strangers should offer assistance, tell them to call police or the CHP.
Just stay in the vehicle, lock
Who
all the
cares? Who cares? Call the police or the CHP? Well, what if they're gonna do that to you? What does it matter? Dude, that's so fucked up.
Flashers, and wait for help to come.
And who are you
It's
gonna
so
call?
incredibly
With
haunting
what?
to watch this segment back, especially considering what he's saying, knowing that he was quite literally the cause of the crime that inspired the segment to begin with. Just 2 weeks after the program aired, Officer Craig Pyre would be arrested for the murder of Kara Knott, where he was eventually sentenced to 25 years to life in prison.
I kind of want to see what he did after this. I kind of want to see like what actual sentence he got and what happened to him. That's what people. Okay, yeah, we're going on to the next one, but
Niagara
still, that's so
Falls,
fucked up.
Ontario, Canada.
That one is the most fucked up, and the thing that actually makes me the most angry is the one that we just watched. Yeah. I mean, it almost seems comical now. Police flying in, or not a police, a priest flying into the sky and getting swept off like that. That's like man against nature type of shit. And what we just watched was just man being shitty.
One of the most famous natural spectacles in the world.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Oh my gosh. Okay, I think I know what this is.
Considered one of the most visually stunning locations in the United States, and
Niagara
even
Falls,
across
yeah.
the world,
Yeah,
the
it's
three
great.
waterfalls that make up Niagara Falls offer a unique blend of beauty and violence, making it no wonder why tens of thousands of people visit the area every day just to take in the awe-inspiring views and that unbelievable rush of water. But on March 20th, 2003, as a typical crowd gathered to take their photos, their attention was captured by something.
Is my being alive in question besides philosophically? What do you mean? What are you talking about, my being?
Far different than the scenery. Something that couldn't have been possible. It looked like a man in the water. Though he wasn't being swept over and he wasn't moving at all, he was just standing there, at the very edge of the falls, staring off into oblivion.
Oh,
Police were
I think I
immediately
know
called
what's
to the
about to
scene as a
happen.
panic arose, and within minutes, rescue crews.
I usually stream every day, and I haven't streamed in about a week because my I don't want to have this turn into like a trauma dump kind of thing. So if I'm not going to be like on or whatever, and I'm just going to be kind of a shitty kind of streamer, then I'm just not going to stream, and I'll just deal with it myself. That's what I mean. Sorry. Yeah, I got you though. And tonight I was like, all right, let's stream a little
Crews
bit.
would begin their work, along with
No,
a
that's
cameraman
a good
from
question,
a local
though.
news station.
I appreciate it. Oh yeah. Hey, look. hey, I'm not going to turn this
The footage
into a
shows
trauma
what should have
dump
been an
stream.
impossible scenario, as an unnamed 48-year-old man was standing at the edge of the most powerful waterfall on the planet, somehow staying balanced and remaining fully calm, despite being just 1 foot away from dropping over 100.
Sorry though, but yeah, it turns out I'm alive. Just I tend to like to keep a pretty, like, I've streamed almost every day for a very long time, many years, and I had to, not some shit came up, but some shit reemerged that I just had to take some time.
180 feet to certain death. Unsure of how the man had ended up in the water, or how it was even possible for him to stay upright, rescue workers sprang into action with 2 men, Pop Moriarty and Gary Carella, sliding into the water and attempting to walk towards him. But even for them, the current was just too much, forcing them to almost immediately turn back, while the man yelled to them that he was losing his strength and to not let him go over.
Wait, the guy that was standing there said that he wasn't that he was losing his strength and didn't want to go over. Then why was he standing there in the first place? That's interesting.
To aid in the rescue, a helicopter was sent in to try and airlift the man up, but immediately the force of the rotors began to create strong gusts of wind, leading to this.
Holy shit. Yeah, that's not good. Why? How did he get out there?
Feet dangling over the edge of the falls.
How did he get there? They said he was there. Hey, I didn't even know you could do that. I thought that was much deeper than it is. Fair enough. But I'm like questioning that now.
As the freezing cold water pelted him relentlessly. By this point, that man had already been in the water for over 1 hour, and his grip was slowly slipping. And so, in a last-ditch prayer, a rescue worker inside the helicopter decided to toss a life preserver, knowing that this would likely be their final shot at saving him. And miraculously, the current caught it and brought it directly to him.
Oh shit.
With every bit of strength he had left, the man would let go of the rock he was clinging to and lunge towards the preserver, grabbing a hold of it as crews on shore began to pull him to safety.
But why?
Or at least, they thought.
Oh, okay.
As he was being towed to shore,
fair enough.
the man approached what looked to be land, though in actuality, this was an ice shelf that extended out over the water, meaning that the black line you see here isn't actually land, but instead a small opening between the sheet of ice and the water itself.
Oh, that's probably not good. Because it's gonna take him under, isn't it?
And within that small opening, the rapids were raging at tenfold due to the increased pressure of the small size.
That's do you know what that's called? Here, from a graduate physics student, that's called the Bernoulli principle. The smaller area, the more velocity that you have. It's why whenever, like, if you've ever been on a 2-lane highway, the larger velocity creates a less dense pressure. And so, like, if you've been on a 2-lane highway or highway in which you're going past one another, that difference in velocity makes, like, from relativity makes a larger velocity difference, and you get sucked kind of towards the object in which you're moving by. I used to have it whenever I was going to college, and it was on Highway 59, which none of y'all know, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, we would have a large, like, 18-wheeler coming this way, and I would go that way, and you would kind of get, like, sucked towards it. It's called the Bernoulli principle.
And was being
That's what they're talking about.
Workers. He was almost immediately sucked underneath, pinning him in an immovable situation.
It's also, if you want to do it right now, you can get 2 sheets of paper and blow between it, and that velocity of air is going to create a smaller pressure, and the pages that you blow through will actually get sucked together. It's how you play, like, the the comb and paper thing if you're like from the 1930s.
Had to engage once again, or else the man was certainly going to drown, with their testimony later on showing just how dire the situation had
Yeah, it's
become.
not great. Wouldn't recommend
He
it.
told us, let me go. He just gave up. He said, save yourselves. Let me go. Let me go.
Why was he out
But
there in the
rescue crews
first
had come too
place?
far to just give up, and despite the pressure of the water becoming almost too much to bear, Corella slipped a harness around the man and gave the signal for the group to be lifted up.
Thank you. Hey, what's going on, Gravely Gothic Kayla? How's it going? Ooh, shit. It's a very long raid thing. I appreciate you. What you got going on? Oh, hey, look, there's the link. Is your stream good? Hopefully. Super good. Super dope. I'll give you a follow. I mean, you at least deserve that, right?
Somehow, they had all done the impossible, and with the victim now on solid ground, he was taken to a nearby hospital where, despite suffering from severe hypothermia, he would go on to survive.
I like to support
making it one of
others
the
that
most
support
incredible
me
rescues
and
ever shown
other
on
small
television.
streamers.
But with the victim now safe, it was time to figure out what exactly had happened. Well, apparently, the man had lost all of his money due to a crippling gambling addiction, even gambling away the last of his family's own cash.
God damn. Gambling. Fuck. Gambling is... I've had my run-ins with addiction and things, but God, I've never been like a gambling addict, and it's just as bad as anything else.
Losing everything and everyone in the process. And he entered the water that day, hoping to make it his last.
Yeah,
but as he
of
drifted
course.
towards the edge,
100%.
he suddenly had a change of heart and decided to fight for survival.
Have y'all ever seen The View from Halfway Down by BoJack Horseman? I understand his view.
And
Let's say
somehow, when
that.
trying to stop himself, his foot became lodged in between two rocks, which also aided in shielding him from the rushing current, allowing him not only to stay there, but to stand upright.
Oh, shit.
It's
Okay.
unknown what happened to the man from here, as he's understandably never been named publicly, but I do hope he managed to find some peace and purpose, as his story is one of very few of this nature with a
So
happy
we got
ending,
out.
especially within Niagara Falls, as the area has become a hotspot for attempts just like this, the vast majority of which sadly end successfully. And as it turns out, one such example of...
I'm not going to say that. I would get banned off of YouTube if
this
I
was
said what I'm
captured
saying.
when the cameras happened to be rolling.
Fraser that recorded the man's actions as he was
no,
taking a
you
special
spoke too soon, XNV. You spoke too soon. Oh, you spoke too soon. The dude that wanted to nope out, I don't think did, but it sounds like somebody else did. Hold on.
Sadly and successfully. And as it turns out, one such example of this was captured when the cameras happened to be rolling.
Oh, you spoke too soon. Or maybe this is a different
actions as he
event.
was taping a special program with Phil Kavitz. It is Phil's voice you will hear on the tape.
I mean,
Hotels and other buildings line the river.
As TV host Phil Kavitz is recording a program for the local nightly news in Buffalo,
Sure.
New York,
Right.
he did so near the mouth of Niagara Falls, where the rapids are raging in a particularly
I've never been,
fierce
and I would
manner,
love to go, actually.
when suddenly...
Buildings line the river.
I think you gravely Gothic Kayla, though.
Started a campaign to preserve.
You're one of the good ones.
We see a man come running from the brush and leap directly into the water.
Well, there you
For
go.
obvious reasons, I can't show what happens next, as the
Right.
water begins to sweep the man towards the edge of the falls.
Sure.
But the audio alone is sufficient in showing just how traumatic
Oh.
the moment was for the news crews watching on.
I actually think, because we are watching this on YouTube and Nick Crowley is a fairly large content creator, I think this is actually, sorry, kind of super fucked up that we can listen to the audio, but we are, because I've been watching a lot of Palestine stuff, and the stuff that we're watching here is child's play compared to stuff that is going on right this very second. But I think it's kind of weird that we can listen to the audio of what will happen and what has happened. If you go on my YouTube, I'm not saying do it. I'm not trying to like gain views or whatever, but I'm just saying I've reacted to a bunch of shit. And well, let's hear what happens.
Factories, hotels, and other buildings line the river. Then Frederick Olmsted started a campaign.
So this is him giving this like news report, and somebody just, you know, wanted to nope out and
to persuade New York to buy the land.
Oh shit.
Oh my God.
Oh my god, yeah.
Holy. Oh my God. Oh my.
If somebody wanted to nope out, and
As they watched in horror, the man was dragged to the edge and then swept directly off, going over head first and standing no chance of survival. According to the report, the man was never identified and his body was never found, likely having been pinned by the impossible force of the water at the bottom.
Sure.
But what I find most chilling about this video is the fact that it's only seemingly been archived in this poor quality, which makes deciphering details about it incredibly difficult. However, there were many who watched the program on TV the day after, as the news station actually aired this footage for the world to see, and one particular account has...
That's interesting. This was a while ago, right? As I understand it? And they aired it? Like a day later? That's okay.
Haunted me since the moment I first read it.
Oh, you see him? Did you see him? Oh shit, did you see him? Look, here, I've gone back like 5-10 seconds. Hold on. You see him.
This footage for the world to see.
You see him. Look at him. Look like where his mustache is. Sorry.
Has haunted me since the moment.
Do you see him right? I mean, you can't see here. You can see my mouse, right? That guy, that he just nopes out. He's like, nah, I don't want to be a part of this anymore.
I first read it.
Oh shit. That's all right.
I remember seeing this when it was first broadcast. Freaked me the hell out. It wasn't a worn out videotape back then, and the image was a lot cleaner. The guy looked at the news crew and into the camera when they started yelling. Creepy and sad as hell. Despite being known for its beauty, there is a dark side to this amazing location, and one that has become and likely will remain no stranger to the world of television.
Damn.